were very passionate about the cost of data, but particularly the phenomenon of expiry of data and airtime. And before this sitting, we've done some outreach to the public for them to submit to us outside of the question of data expiry and airtime expiry and data costs. What particular challenges do they face with mobile network operators? Because we don't speak for ourselves here. I mean, as members of parliament, I can give you a basic example. We operate with cell phones provided by parliament, so we don't necessarily buy data with the frequency that the ordinary South African will. So those challenges are something we must also reach out to ordinary society to advise us as to what would they want. And I'd like to thank all of those who reached out to us. And I think most members of the committee will speak to the issues that confront broader society. So as the EFF, we have an understanding of connectivity and data access to airtime as something that is a basic human right. So access to information, for us, we conceptualize it as something that's a basic human right. You can't survive in South African society without having access to data or connectivity. You can't apply for a job, you can't complain about service delivery, you can't request interventions in terms of ambulance or police, you can't do your schoolwork, you can't apply for school. So it's at the center of everyday living. It's as critical as food. And that is our appreciation of it. So when we raise the concern about data expiring, we're raising it not ignorant to the fact that there might be a financially logical explanation. But from the background that we come from, and you'll appreciate it as well, even though we might be on different aisles ideologically, we know that capital is an explanation for the undermining of human rights in various spheres of society. By capital, I mean private sector. I'll give you an example. A private hospital can justify denying a pregnant woman who's about to give labor assistance because she doesn't have a medical aid. They can justify not assisting someone who has been stabbed or shot because they don't have a medical aid to provide so that they can be given that service. A bank can repossess your house or your car. You might have been paying it for 10 years. You miss a month's installment, they'll take it back. Funeral cover, you can be paying it for 10, 15 years. You miss 1 month and you die. You've lost your coverage. So there is always a financial logic to justify violation of human rights or undermining of dignity. So I don't doubt that there's a logical financial explanation for the expiry mandates of data and airtime. But I think let's give you an opportunity to give us that logical explanation, which may be logical to you, but continues to undermine access to information for ordinary South Africans and their ability to live in this country. So I want us to appreciate it at that level, that your logic may be sound financially, but it undermines possibly human rights and human dignity as it comes to access to information. So let's get a clear-cut and concise explanation from all mobile network operators as to why do you practice the expiry mandate of data and airtime. What does it seek to achieve? And what impact do you think it has on ordinary South Africans? Why do you not practice? Because the chair said we must also avail solutions in this regard. Longer rollover periods that do not require the user to be the one who applies for the rollover of the data, but automatically they roll over if you say for 3 to 6 months, because it becomes extremely exploitative in the manner that it exists in now. That a person buys data that lasts them 24 hours, 7 hours, a week or a month, because they feel like this is a product that they have purchased. We made a very layman example about perishable goods when we started this debate, so I'm interested in that. The second issue I'd like to raise is the characterization I think we should now begin to have of mobile network operators as almost sellers of financial products. And I'll tell you why. Because some of you, and I'm also interested to hear perhaps across the board, you sell funeral cover, you sell life cover. And I'm interested as to how does that impact on your profit margins? How does that exist alongside your provision of services of mobile connectivity or internet connectivity. Because mobile network operators are almost adopting a parallel model of operating like banks or insurers in this evolving telecommunication space. So I'm curious as to all of you, Vodacom, Cell C, MTN, Rain, offer these financial products. How do they contribute to your profit margins? And what is your motivation to basically enter into that terrain as well? I mean, even the question, I'm interested on the profitability of products such as the collar tune phenomenon. Like, how do you do your scaling or modeling of financial profit there as well? Do artists get dividends from you utilizing that product? How much are those dividends? Do they feel represented in that space? But also the airtime advance phenomenon. I mean, that is I would characterize it as a revolving loan, like a consistently available revolving loan system being provided by mobile network operators. Because if you give me a chance to take 20 Rand airtime, and then when you recover that airtime, you recover it with a profit, that is banking, but operating under a mobile network operator system. So I'm curious, how do you view yourselves as you enter the market of providing financial products? Like, do you accept that you're conducting functions that can be characterized as banking, especially when it comes to airtime advances? And then when it comes to the collar tune phenomenon, can you accept that you are venturing into the creative space? Are creatives benefiting from phenomenon such as utilizing music, and then people subscribe to that on a month-to-month basis when they call people? I'm interested in that. I think the third and last part, Chair, I can feel your look. Oh, I'm still fine. Okay. The third part, there's a culture that is causing a lot of suspicion of headhunting senior leaders of the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa by mobile network operators. Like, you hire them, you'll hire a CEO, you'll hire a former board member of ICASA. Now ICASA is the regulatory authority of all of you. And I think it is fair to accept that it is suspicious that those who regulate you, whenever their time or term of tenure within ICASA comes to an end, immediately migrate to work for the mobile network operators that they were regulators of previously. And it casts doubt and suspicion, especially as it relates to issues such as data costs, which have been something of debate in South Africa for more than 10 years, when it comes to issues of expiry of data as well. I mean, there's been a sanctioning of commissions on commissions after commission by ICASA on why data expires, how can we introduce new rollover methods. But they always end up in thin air. They always end up convinced by the mobile network operators that it would be more costly to abandon expiry mandates rather than sustain them. And then the very same people who are convinced by the mobile network operators end up in senior positions within the very same mobile network operators they were supposed to regulate. After that, I'm interested, is it a matter of you seeking expertise? Is it nefarious? I would hope it's not. But why is there seemingly an effort to recruit former regulators by mobile network operators? I mean, for example, the MTN group appointed Willington Gwebe as the chief of staff, who served as the CEO of ICASA for 5 years. Why? What expertise does a regulator bring to mobile network operators? Vodacom did the same thing with a board member, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, a guy called Andrew Matsik worked for ICASA Council and then ended up at Vodacom. So I'm not saying you are engaged in time. And back at ICASA. Yeah, I'm not saying you're engaged in some form of insider trading or something, but it's a curious phenomenon that I'm interested in understanding. Is there some certain expertise a former regulator brings to a mobile network operator that is motivating you to pursue them? Or should we be concerned that there are incentives of employment post-regulating for regulators which will undermine the consumer rights of South Africans as well? I think I might, lastly, can't end without talking about Starlink. Telkom was very emphatic on its critique or concern around the policy directive of the minister around the regulatory framework in South Africa, and cautioned against exceptions being made for certain individuals or certain entities. And I think ACT as well, there's a concern about new entrants being prioritized, whereas there's existing people in the space. I'm interested on Vodacom and MTN, Rain and Cell's perspective as well. What do you think foreign satellite network operators' impact is going to be on the local telecommunications space in terms of jobs, in terms of infrastructure development? I mean, surely there'll be an impact if we allow an entity such as Starlink to operate in South Africa on the local telecommunications sector. What would that impact be? Would it be favorable to local telecommunication providers? Or is it something that we should view with caution? But also on the national security aspect, which is a concern we hold, that Starlink is owned by someone who has made certain disinformation about our country. What is your view about such entrance into a market that you've been operating in, and where you claim to have been practicing quite high levels of patriotism through your social outreach and investments? What is Starlink's role going to be when it enters? And do any of you have any particular relationships with Starlink, SpaceX, or Elon Musk? Has there been any engagements around their entrance into South Africa? I won't mention anyone's name that we've seen.
Run out of time now.
Lingering. But yeah, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tambo. Honorable Alicia.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I think if we really have the same objective with the MNOs, we're not going to lie to each other. Or we're not going to deliberately mislead each other. You know, as they were giving these presentations, the CEO of Vodacom says 5 gigabytes is 99 Rand. So I took my phone and I tried to check what you're saying. And I realized, the first thing I realized in the exercise I was doing is the inconsistencies as far as the pricing is concerned. Like when you check on your phone, you're going to buy with your airtime. The prices are different if you're buying through a bank. And maybe you can explain that to us. But also, CEO, there is a 5 gigabytes of for 99 Rand, but that is for the data offers, and that is for the modems, when I had to check. Right? Maybe you can clarify that, because then now you're giving us an impression that there is a 5 gigabytes that people can get for that amount. You've made a reduction, but these are according to the packages and the modems, which is not something that, you know, the poor people are enjoying. They're not enjoying modems and the data packages. And all of you are bragging about coverage, you know, the reach and the coverage that you have achieved. But you're omitting that in the rural areas, especially, you know, with the MTN, people in the rural areas are still climbing mountains to get network, and they're still climbing on trees because they are relying on 2G. And that is something that I need us to talk about. And if the CEO of MTN is saying he's very connected to the people and feels what the people are going through, that is the reality of what people are going through. They're climbing on trees just to make a call. And rightfully so, Chairperson, they are correct to say they blame, you know, the networks because they can't connect when there is a crisis. They have to climb trees and mountains and try to find network that they have paid for. That is expensive. They can't even afford it, but they get it and they still have to struggle. And I want us to take that, and maybe the CEOs can clarify it to us. And no matter how you've reduced the data, if there is a South African who's earning 1.5, data is still expensive for that person. And even if you've got a domestic worker and the security guards, let's say, are earning 3.5 a month, the data prices that you have are still very expensive for those people. They still spend more than 1% or 1% of their salary on data. CEO, I see, and this happens a lot, I see when people come and present and make all these fancy presentations to us, they tell us about the social responsibility work that they're doing. Yes, you donate laptops to these schools, but you omit that they don't have solar panels and routers. And that means they're rendering whatever it is that you're bringing to them useless because they can't use them. They can't connect. So you're bringing computers and laptops to these people or these students, these learners, but they can't use them. And also, maybe the CEO of Vodacom can clarify this. There are tokens that you are giving to schools, but after that token has expired, teachers and learners still have to buy airtime. And maybe you can clarify that, because then it excludes the poor learners that we are talking about. And the CEO of MTN had that 99 Rand smart cell phone that he was presenting it to us, but he omits the fact that there needs to be a 70 Rand airtime lock-in in that package, and people are actually getting blacklisted because this is a contract that they can't, when they miss a payment, they get blacklisted because that is a contract that they can't afford. So these are the details that we need when you come here and tell us about these things. You can't omit such information that data is still very unaffordable for an ordinary South African. So maybe they can tell us, what you can tell us is that when are you reducing data and make it affordable for South African people, and stop focusing on making profit. And maybe they can tell us, Chair, if they're making profits on this expired data. Why are you so obsessed with expiration of data that a person has paid for? You know, maybe you can clarify that to us and tell us if maybe you are making profit. Another one, Chair, is maybe they can tell us, why haven't you implemented the free data for grant recipients and students and unemployed youth? What is hindering you from doing that? Because you know that, like Komisa had said here next to me, that this is not luxury. It's something that our people need. It's no longer luxury, and I think we learned that from COVID-19, that having data has become a necessity. It's a basic need. Maybe another one, Chair, Vodacom. We have it on good authority that you are selling customers' information to third parties, and this is something that is talked about. Do you make profit? How much are you getting from selling our information? Maybe you can tell us, why shouldn't we charge you for theft? Because that is not something that you should be doing. And I think, Chair, when you were saying maybe we should also come up with solutions, the chairperson of association did mention that the licenses are expiring soon. Maybe they can tell us, why should their licenses be renewed if they are not they are not agreeing to these data to making, free data provisions? Why should you your licenses be renewed if you're not committing to the free data and these things of the expiration of data? I think that's it from me, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
I think firstly, the matter with Mr. Makate, and please call me. I think it's important to say categorically that this is not about dragging it out. This is before the Constitutional Court, and we too await the outcome of that. We have in various ways tried to engage and come to a table. We simply have not agreed on quantums, and it's before the Constitutional Court. So I think just to leave that one there for the moment. I think the second one that was specific to Vodacom was on data pricing, and to the honourable member, the 5 gigabyte is available, and it is available on mobile. It's not a separate internet offer. It's actually there. In fact, as the session was going on, Honourable Chair, there were people on social media asking about it. Our team has responded to them, shown them exactly where they buy it. It's fully available. It's not hidden somewhere. It's actually there. And part of it, Chair, lies the problem around the price of data, of which some of it is around the perception of the price of data, which we will need to work on harder to ensure that that is more available. The fact that you are not aware that is available is part of the challenge for us to make you aware of that. And I think those are some of the elements. You're correct, Honourable Member, in terms of some of the different channels of what you can find maybe on a banking app, but you can't find it here and so on. Within our business, there's different ways to distribute our products, if you like, so to sell our bundles and so on. And each of those different channels, if you like, have different commercials that you need to pay. So what you can maybe sell on this channel will cost you a little bit more there, and so there might be different prices on different channels, but ultimately the 5 gigabytes is available for customers. It's available on all of our channels that we distribute directly. So just to put that one categorically and make that clear on that. I think the data expiry one is also, Honourable Chair and members, what you've raised passionately. And maybe I can join my fellow CEO and give a separate example to try and explain the matter which has been spoken about at length. The data pricing that we price for is based on how we dimension the network. So we say this is what we need to input into the network to create the network to be able to carry the data, and therefore we charge on the basis of that. If one was looking at the price of making something fully available all of the time, it is obviously more expensive than dimensioning it differently at different times. And so to buy a data bundle is not like buying a loaf of bread. Buying a data bundle is buying access to something, almost like buying a Gautrain ticket. You can buy a Gautrain ticket for a week, for 2 days, for a return for a month, and it's the access that it's giving you to that service. To just reiterate and maybe use it in this example, if you were creating an endless accessibility to something, it would almost be saying that you want to build a 5-lane highway right across the country, because it must always be able to take 5 cars at the same time. And you would build that road network, if I'm just using roads as an example, you would build a 5-lane highway all across the network through every road. The end result of that, Honourable Chair, is it will actually push data costs up. So the very fact of bringing the validities down is an ability that we have and a tool that we have used to make the entry points more affordable for people who want to use them at a more affordable entry point. And therefore we dimension the network accordingly that way. That's part of the journey. The longer validities are available on the network. But you'll see that the shorter validities, and another honourable member spoke about prepaid, actually those bundles are cheaper because there are pro-poor bundles, because they are within the poorest towns that we have, the top 2,000 towns and so on. So those two things are linked, and that's how one should look at and think about these things. But again, happy to send a more detailed response to the committee. There was a question specifically to Vodacom on foreign ownership. Vodacom Group is indeed owned by 65% by Vodafone Group. This gives us a few things, Honourable Member. The first thing that it gives us is it gives us an ability to be part of a world-class company. What we have access to are technologies, ideas from right across the group, from how things are being done in Spain, to UK, to Italy, to Germany. There's nothing you'll find, Honourable Member, that we are, as a group, that the Germans can say they're doing that we haven't brought to South Africa. So we have the power of bringing world class into our business by being part of a bigger group. On top of that, we also have the ability to procure equipment and use the buying power of the group to ensure that we're procuring the things that we procure with the power of being part of a global group which has bigger procurement. But that being said, there are very strong local shareholders within Vodacom Group. So the PIC holds 12% of the share of Vodacom Group, and Yebo Yetu, which is our BE vehicle, equally holds 5%. So there's, along with all the other individual shareholders who trade in Vodacom shares individually. The point on infrastructure sharing, Chair, I won't belabor it, but again, just to give perhaps a different angle, the MTN CEO is correct. We do share on a lot of the sites, right across both of our sites, 2,000 roughly, as he said, of both of our sites. We share fiber. The question, Chair, is what is the step change? What is the difference that we can continue to make to continue to become more effective and efficient? And part of that is deepening that sharing. And deepening that sharing means not just sharing, for example, the mast, the actual physical tower. The question needs to be around, can we share the active part of our equipment, so the actual radio network? Can we share in different ways? Can we not only share what we've built, but plan where to build? And so on and so on. And all of that needs to happen within the legislative framework that is available to us, and that's where we would need collective and collaborative support from yourselves and from all the legislators on being able to do that. There was a question specifically for Vodacom around selling of people's data. I want to make that very, very clear. We comply to all POPI regulations, and we do not do anything outside of that at all. So I just want to say that is not, factually speaking, not correct at all. We comply in every aspect of that. So just to be clear on that one. On RICA, this is a big challenge for many of our customers. Many people's data is stolen in terms of their phones are hacked and so on. And the key element on RICA will be that switch. We've been working as an industry collaborative with the Department of Justice, but it is to make that legislative switch to enable and enforce biometric registration. A registration that links, that when someone registers for a SIM card, that registration needs to link back to the Home Affairs database, to the harness database, and give and be a point that can verify that. And unless that happens, it doesn't continue. So really bring in the biometric element, but also start to limit, for example, legislation that limits the number of SIM cards that one person can own. And those are the kind of legislative measures we need to be able to collectively deal with the issue and improve the RICA framework and registration legislation.
1 minute, CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Another specific one on Vodacom, in fact it was for all, was about exiting contracts. Important to say that when contracts are entered into, particularly most of those involve a device. That's part of that contract. And what has happened with that device is, as an MNO, we've gone and we've procured the device from the OEM. We have put money into that device to reduce the cost of it. So we've invested in it on the basis that a customer will be with us for 24 months or 36 months. If that customer is going to leave early, then we would need to recoup the price or the cost of the device. And so that's some of the complexities that sometimes come up with regards to the different areas. Honorable Chair, I think I will leave it at that, and maybe all the others we will bring through in writing. Thank you.